Dr. Bashir, I presume?
Please state the nature of the medical emergency. I'd hate to be boring.
Sometimes he just didn't know when to shut up.
I do not like doctors. Any doctors.
Please state the nature of the Deep Space Nine at Nine-ish. We are back here with Dr. Bashir, I presume. It's a Season 5, Episode 16 episode. I'm your host, Jeff Mader, joined as always by my brother, Dave Mader.
Hello.
Dave,
Good
hello.
evening.
Good evening.
Dr. Bashir, I presume.
Right. Well, Jeff at Nine-ish, actually. But we also have Jaemeel Robinson coming in. Jaemeel, how are you? We're ready to talk about some... Lita of it all, Robert Picardo, guest star.
Yes, we are ready. Hot takes are coming. Hot takes.
Hot
You're
takes
like a poet.
for days. You know, you got to go shake those brains. Okay, and we also have Kevin Millard. Kevin, is
Hello.
this? I'm coming to you for all the ROM of it all in this episode because I know you're a big ROM fan.
I am, and he doesn't really shine in this one, unfortunately.
We heard you the first time.
Right. That might be the most ultimate cock block in the history of television.
It's so good. Okay, when we get to that part, yeah, but it's
at the end of the episode, but it makes it lasts with you when you finish the episode. That you're like, that was a hell of a cock block. I mean, they waited, they built it up. There's the will they won't they tension. Will she leave? Will Rom say something? But right, it doesn't. They wait right to the end. Completely cock block Robert Picardo, who's destined to a life of solitude and research. So he's just masturbating constantly.
he's got a holodeck. He's a holo expert. He's fine.
Yes.
But he longs for a Lita in his life. I love this episode. I'm just going on the record. I love this episode. This is a great episode of television. I think it's a great episode coming right off of this whole Dominion arc, especially starting off in the war and now the Cardassia. And it's like, now we have real Bashir back. Guess what? He was a changeling for most of the season. You didn't even know. And now he's back. And now, guess what? He's genetically enhanced. And there's this whole other thing. And Robert Picardo's here. And there's a whole thing with Lita and Rom getting together and all this. Ronald D. Moore wrote this. It's great. It's excellent. I love Dr. Bashir, I presume, doesn't get enough praise. I think I never gave it enough praise, and I feel like it's way up there.
Well, that's kind of what I wanted to start off here with is that for me, if it's an individual character's episode in Deep Space Nine, I really enjoy Dr. Bashir's stories the most. I find them the most diverse. Every episode he kind of has is different. You know,
I'd hate to be boring.
You have yes, thank you. But you have the James Bond episode. You have this one. You have Section 33. You have all these different things that Bashir kind of gets into, and I find him the most cerebral of all the characters. Jaemeel, is that? Do you kind of feel that way? Do you love the Bashir episodes as much as I do?
I do. There's a great variety of choices stemming from very dramatic to lighthearted in this episode to a good romp in the James Bond-esque episodes. So he runs the gauntlet in terms of characters. Interestingly enough, one of the characters that you would say from the first season that what a bore really has if they were making DVD collections or Blu-ray collections of episodes for characters, he would have one of the better DVD sets.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the eclectic version of his episodes compared to, let's say, O'Brien, who has great episodes, but it's always O'Brien must suffer. Kevin, do you feel that way? Yeah, do you feel that way a little bit about Bashir? You're like, oh, it's always kind of like a different story.
Absolutely, because also O'Brien has great episodes, but he's also featured heavily in Bashir's episodes.
Yes.
Like Bashir's episodes are single character. They're the best ones.
Yeah. And what they do so well is they can do an A story of Bashir and his parents, for instance, in this episode, and really smash a bunch of great B story throughout the A story as well, which is the B story here is the lead of Rom of it all. And it really works in this episode because it relieves tension, because the Bashir stuff is kind of serious. There's some dramatic scenes, especially between Bashir and his parents, that really stand out throughout the episode.
I love that Quark just tries to destroy this relationship right from the get-go.
Yeah, he knows it's not profitable for him. It's just going to cost him money. And yeah, he gets in Lita's head here with that she Rom wants a girl with beauty and brains, and then she acts like she's mad at him, but she's like, well, he called me good looking, so she was actually kind of
fun fact.
Yeah,
independently of independently of this show, not knowing that those forks were in this show, we bought those, Ashley and I, when we moved in. Those were our forks.
You had Star Trek forks.
We had the whole set, when we first moved in together.
There you go.
What was that like?
Having like a side on Deep Space Nine was like, holy shit, space forks.
Space forks.
Pass me the space fork.
This is what Quark has in his establishment.
Yeah,
only the best.
You know the production, like
it's an antique for him.
The person like that bought that, like, these are different, and these are so weird. They'd be in space. They're not a normal fork. Produced. Yeah,
no, they're not, and they're actually terrible as forks.
Well, who would want to hoop on the end of their fork? I think he would just get in the way.
They're
it looks like a little bit. Yeah, it doesn't look a comfortable fork, but she's gonna eat with it anyway. This is what Quark gives her.
He's eating at the bar.
Why is he serving her food?
He like literally sets up like a tray, like he's serving her.
Yeah, he's got like soup, and he's got like all sorts of different things going on.
Like if I just walked up at Quark's bar, he would just serve me like a sandwich or whatever, or like whatever you want to order. He's like, sure. He's like, isn't he always busy?
Yeah, that was weird that he was serving her. I found that off-putting.
Yeah,
wait, is she gonna sit down and eat, or is he like setting out a banquet for everybody? Like, I thought it was so weird.
I think it would have
from her pay, right? It's stopped from her pay.
I think they could have done the scene a bit better, where they had Lita set like the food and everything up for herself, and then she eats it like she's still working there. Like he's forcing. That would have been kind of a funny gag. But instead, they do this, where she, basically Quark. Is she on break?
She's on break.
Right.
She's on her union break. Remember union? All that stuff.
Right.
Anyway, but on to the Bashir of it all.
Okay, so the premise of this episode is Robert Picardo, Dr. Zimmerman, who created the EMH, that we know on Voyager, that's been on for a couple seasons at this point.
Yeah,
he's the guy that created the EMH, but now he doesn't want to be the face of the EMH anymore. He wants Bashir to be the face, and
well, they're making him. Like we later find out in Voyager that they were making Zimmerman. Zimmerman becomes a recurring character over on Voyager more than here on Deep Space Nine, even though he's he was kind of on Voyager already. He had been in some episodes.
He also mentions it here that Starfleet Medical decided for the LMH, the long-term medical attendant, that they were going to use Bashir. They'd chosen Bashir, right? Yeah. And he was able to, he modeled the EMH off of himself.
And now he needed a new model for this new program.
Yeah.
So that's why Bashir was tapped, because you wouldn't want to use the same guy, because then it would just get confusing.
I wish we had gotten a Bashir EMH in something.
It would have been great.
Yeah.
Like if he was in like Star Trek Insurrection or Nemesis or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or even a Voyager episode would have been cool.
It's cool that they cross these two over, though. Even though it's not the Doctor from Voyager, it is kind of in personality and in spirit.
Yeah. He does make an appearance. I mean, it's not the same EMH, but the EMH does
copy of him. Original software.
Yeah, but that's and like, so I guess like Bashir's like, well, I just got to take this on, but that's when he he gets a little worried. You can see it in his face. So like, and that's kind of the whole premise of the episode, which is great, that he's got a secret, and what's that secret going to be, and and he's trying to kind of keep it hidden, and how he's going to go about that. Some of these stills, Dave.
Going back for a second to Dr. Zimmerman.
What is Vaughn doing? He's right up in there.
Going back to Dr. Zimmerman in the last scene, if you can go back. Why is he wearing that white coat?
No, I don't know. He wears that in Voyager as well. I don't understand. Does it protect him from holograms?
I feel like Barbara Picardo said, "Give me a white coat. I don't feel like I'm, more in charge. I need to feel in
This
charge."
is how I'll feel different as I'm a different kind of doctor. I'm a holographic doctor, and therefore I'm in a different category. Even though
It just
Bashir
stood out
looks
as
like he's
weird.
laughing at him in his white coat.
I'm surprised that the production was okay with letting him wear that coat thing. Because they're usually pretty. They want to show their uniforms off. Usually.
covering him up, yeah.
Yeah, he's covered up with basically a painter's cloth.
I think it's like a
It's
character choice. I don't really know what trying to say though. Like he's kind of this makes him this kind of a personality.
It just looks so weird.
Yeah, maybe he felt like it changed the character's personality a little bit, the way he could carry him.
He doesn't always wear it though.
No.
He's not. Sometimes he's not wearing it.
Yeah, right there.
Okay. Out here in the real world, he doesn't need it. It's only the holograms are getting to him. So.
Mm.
So O'Brien's helping out on this because he's the engineer, and he cracks a good couple wise ones at him where he says, basically you can annoy people you've never even met, which is a good line.
Thousands of people you've never met.
Yeah, that's fair. Wait, that Morin thing?
The hand
That sequence should be in every other
That sequence is amazing. Like he wins the Dabo, and then he's like, I get to hug and kiss the Dabo girl, right? Like that's what happens.
That's the transaction?
I think so.
Zimmerman's like, I'm into her.
Morin's in this episode more than Jake.
More
But
than
Jake
Warren.
has some lines.
Jake has more.
I
Jake
know.
has lines though.
Jake actually has lines in this episode too, but Morin is still in it more.
Is Zimmerman like a bad guy? Sort of. Okay.
He just seems like a dick. Like he just seems like a guy no one likes, and you know what I mean. Like that's how he's playing him. Right?
That's how the Doctor was in the first season of Voyager, sort of, and he's the template
Yeah.
right.
for that.
He's basically the rich bro that comes and tries to swoop in and get the girl that the girl really has no interest in other than what she can get from him. He's just okay and rich, or has the ability to change her life.
Well, he seems to have a problem with getting any group of friends and being able to grow and any sort of community. And that's the thing that the EMH on Voyager does. He comes to be bonded with the Voyager crew, even though Janeway erases his memories throughout one episode, all this kind of stuff. But you know what I mean? Like I think with Zimmerman as a human being, he's like incapable of that. I think that's the whole point of the two characters in that way.
They must have had a lot of fun. 2 Robert Picardos, 2 Alexander Siddigs.
Yeah.
Just eating it, like doing double green screens, I guess. And
O'Brien
and it's Alexander just Siddig acting like Robert Picardo, like
Right.
in this scene. It's good.
it's good stuff.
Yeah.
I think he I think Alexander Siddig is like for me like the best actor trained. Like he just seems like the most able to mimic people and do all sorts of different things really, really well.
Please state the nature of the medical emergency.
Yeah, I think that's why he was chosen originally to play Cisco. Like I think they realized his talent and they want, that's why
they thought he was too young looking too, right?
Yeah, which makes sense.
He doesn't even look old
Especially
enough to be a doctor.
Especially the first season, like he does look real young.
Yeah, which makes sense. But he really grows into his own. We're here on season 5, and you're starting to get some really good episodes with Bashir. Here in this scene, though, like basically, you get to see the dead-eyed Bashir EMH that doesn't have the zest for life.
This one,
yeah, which I thought was kind of fun. I thought that, like again, like those type of things. I think he played really well.
Somebody else's hand is on his face there, right?
Yeah, probably right. And he's just standing over there as a green screen or whatever.
Or they're putting it together. I don't know. It's a good effect, however they did it.
Yeah.
Okay, so then it goes into Robert Picardo needs to start doing interviews with some of the crew, and they kind of go through Cisco here. What makes Bashir annoying? Basically, it's a real piling on.
Season
Kevin.
1. Season 1.
Sometimes he just didn't know when to shut up.
They're talking about all the way home, right? Like that's that type of Bashir is who they're talking about. The one that wants to get with Dax. Morn, I don't know why. It's just a funny gag. He's on drugs.
And this is my favorite. This is my favorite line.
I do not like doctors. Any doctors.
Any doctors.
Right?
that-
Like, oh, so he didn't like Crusher or
Yeah.
Doesn't like her. Doesn't like Pulaski either.
Pulaski. Yeah. Even when what's the episode in Next Gen when the things fall on him and then he wants to die, right?
he
And they
wants
won't
to
kill him.
die.
I wonder, did Worf and Odo bond over barrels falling on their backs? On rocks?
Yeah.
Did they have like a sit down talk about how it affected them mentally?
Go to your precious vortex.
Is that the same episode?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, with the stuff on Odo. Yes.
Okay, at the end of these interviews, Zimmerman just out of nowhere just asks Lita out. I'm like, that's kind of unprofessional, which is kind of ironic that he does this, and then the whole episode's about how Bashir is genetically enhanced and is, not, like I think what he's doing is kind of,
It gives him something to do the rest of the episode, because once this thing turns into his genetically enhanced thing, like he's out of that storyline. Basically, he's not talking to Bashir after that point. So it's almost like it kind of intertwines these two stories well. Like sometimes they would do these B plots, like in the earlier seasons, where they didn't fit with the A storyline at all. They just happened to be going on at the same time. And here they're a little bit more relevant. So
yeah, like that's right, because he kind of sets up the whole thing in motion by bringing his parents to the station,
right?
But is not really involved after the big secret gets revealed, which we'll talk about. But in the meantime, Zimmerman's, he's macking on Lita, and Rom is listening with his lobes from the lower level, which I thought was interesting.
Creepy.
With his snail juice.
He can just like hold his earlobe and just like, why is this not shown more in Star Trek? Because I think it would be very interesting.
Maybe he has an implant.
I assume that with the amount of garbage that is said constantly, you would try to like tune it out as opposed to tune in.
It's like make it white noise.
Well, yeah. Do you work at a bar? Do you want to hear people chomping on food and drinking and gulping the entire day?
Wait, here's Lita again with a bowl of food in front of her.
She's got peppers, broccoli, some kind of.
Was this in her contract? Like every time I do a scene or every second scene, I gotta have
pork is serving me food. This is my new rule. Yeah, maybe. Oh, and she goes for it, but yeah.
Poor dude.
Every time I see Lita too, like I often think she looks so much like Kira. Like she looks like she could be her cousin or something. Like they have a very similar look as for the hair and the lipstick, and I find they look a lot alike. And so I guess that's kind of like, I don't know if that's intentional. Yeah, like, I don't know if that's intentional to make them look they're Bajorans, or I don't know. What do you think, Dave? Do you think that's?
I think it's just coincidental. I think that got Chase Masterson to be this Dabo girl character, and then they kind of just started writing storylines for her, and so it kind of just evolved. I think.
But do you think there's no girl on the panel, but do you think like the makeup is intentionally made them to look sort of similar? Because I don't think they look a lot alike, maybe physically. Like I don't know, maybe they do, but. I don't know. I feel like they're kind of done up, like the same kind of haircut and like stuff, and I just feel like they look a lot alike because
Kira's barely in this episode too. So
Do you think that maybe there was a thought that to make Kira a little bit more interesting and tied to the rest of the crew, to like have her have like a younger sister that she never really connected to?
Yeah, right? Maybe they scrapped it.
Yeah,
maybe they scrapped it. And they're like, no, we don't want to do that, But maybe when they created the Lita character, they, always left that as a possibility, or maybe they could do that story down the road, or that they're actually related.
Because it would have been interesting because
Yeah.
it's like, you know, she doesn't like Quark and her younger sister is working for Quark.
Yeah.
Right? She's the warrior, but the sister is this Dobble girl who's like a free spirit. I think there could have been a lot of interesting storylines that they could have done, but obviously they scrapped it pretty early, never referenced it or put any clues.
Double.
Thank you, Lita. The girl with all the brains. Okay, all right. Let's talk a little bit about the actors. Abu from Seinfeld, and I don't know who plays his mom, but Bashir's parents are really, really good in this episode. They're fantastic, actually, as far as playing off.
Abu from Seinfeld. Yeah, you're right.
Abu, yeah.
He's Richard Bashir in this.
Been a very bad man. Yeah.
Even I know the reference. I know the reference.
Yeah. And but his like you really get a great like just story here, but with Julian and his father, and his whole background is really explained. We didn't know much about Julian Bashir until this episode, really. I mean, he's kind of like this weird enigma, and we kind of finally find out why here. And it took until season 5 for them to do this. Dave, what do you make of that? Do you think that's bad character development over like 4 seasons? And like, you know,
I suppose you could look at it that way. They had a lot on their plate. They have a lot of characters, a lot of storylines going on. Like Bashir,
right? But he's a main
episode. At least he gets one. Like, you know, a lot of these characters never did. Like Dax, we never learned anything about really her backstory.
Yeah, she's the other one. Like, you know, Bashir. I mean, O'Brien.
Specifically Jadzia.
Right, O'Brien we already know from TNG. Worf, obviously, we know his backstory from TNG. Cisco, they do spend a lot of time on. Kira, they definitely spend a lot of time on. You know,
Odo, they spend a lot of time on.
And Odo. I could have done with a few.
They spend more time on Ezri than they do Jadzia.
Ezri, it's like they go hard at the end with Ezri. As many episodes as they can to fill in that
Which
backstory.
seems like a big like finger to Terry Farrell.
Yeah,
well, kind of, yeah.
It's an overcorrection too. Like, yeah, like they should have done more Jadzia stuff, but they didn't. But like, yeah, for the most part, it took them till now really to do Bashir's story. I mean, and he was right there for like a main cast member right from the beginning. He's the doctor. All the doctors are kind of fleshed out characters in Star Trek, but it really took a while for them to do Bashir.
Well, fair enough. At least they're doing it now.
Yeah, at least they're doing it
back then, I guess. But for now, for us, you know,
yeah, now for us,
maybe the writers didn't care about Julian to pursue it back then.
Yeah, well, I think
they found him annoying too.
They found him annoying, and that's I think what that whole scene where they're going through the interviews. That's them like kind of like a meta, I think, reference from the writers saying like we didn't really know what to do with this guy for a little while, and now we figured it out.
What do you think? What do you make of his father being like this kind of unaccomplished kind of guy who's just like, I don't know, like he's can't really hold down a job because he lives in the Federation and because everybody has universal everything, right? Healthcare, housing, quality of life. You know, it doesn't really matter that he's not good at anything. So it's just he's kind of like his relationship with Julian in the sense of like he had him genetically engineered and he's like, you need to be a doctor. You know, you always imagine like the person, like the parents who are pushing you to be a doctor maybe are also doctors or educated in some ways a lot of times, right? And so it's just like it just feels like that part of his backstory, which was filled in that episode where we were going through the different stages of his mind, and like Cisco was this part of his character and etc. Like everyone represented that. It was an okay episode, but this is a lot better. I think that this is like a whole new dynamic to his character that they're just like dropping into in now. So I guess like doing the rewatch, the best thing about it has been knowing that this is coming, knowing that we're gonna know, we knew this, you know, and now we're gonna know this from going forward and how it's gonna inform our reviews.
Yeah, I think what we see about Bashir's backstory here is that his dad is kind of like this con man guy that kind of never really had enough intelligence to be very successful, and kind of was a swindler and really was willing to be unethical in a whole facet of not just with Julian's decision to enhance him, but it just seemed like that was his MO as a person. And his mother was kind of just seems like a sweet lady that was willing to do unlawful things to help her son. Do you kind of see it the same way, Kevin? You kind of view his mom and dad the same way?
Yeah. His dad was the more forceful one. I mean, they put him in jail at the at the end, but
Yes.
his mom just loved him so much, and she wanted him to succeed, right? So she'll do anything.
Yes, but I also feel like she should take some blame for the enhancement as well. I think she kind of gets off scot-free.
Well, she
because,
does.
but she, it seems like from the conversations that they have in this episode that she was the one that instigated to do this. She has a whole scene with Julian saying, "Hey, like you don't know what it's like to watch a kid struggle and not make it," and I feel like she was probably the one who persuaded his father to do it, and he was like, well, I can't do it because I'm a good swindler kind of guy, right?
Right.
And
You're right.
so Jaemeel, yeah, do you feel the same way here?
Okay, I have this episode, the women don't have any agency until the very end, and barely so. I feel like this has been an ongoing issue between Bashir, Julian, and his father, Rich, and she's kind of just been playing referee when she is part of the equation herself. And I think that this issue, the tension between the two, would have been solved a long time ago if she came clean with her part of it and explained herself better, right? Because Julian is always showing affection to her and always aggressive and hostile to Richard, right? And I think that neither of them is to blame. It is Asha, his mother, right, that didn't detail things in the first place. The second part about women with agency, if Lita wanted Rom to ask her out, why didn't Lita just ask out Rom in the first place?
Yeah.
She's an independent woman, right, who supposedly has agency but does not show it. She's there hinting. She pulls the doctor around, right? Leads him around as a kind of shot across Rom's bow to get him to force him to say something. When don't play games, just say exactly what you feel, right? This is unnecessary. This episode, as much as I like this episode, what's up, women? Come on.
That's the way they wrote women in the 90s.
Oh, so frustrating.
They could not be courted, Jaemeel, unless the guy has to make the first move. That's just the way it is. You're right. In the 90s, that's how Friends, with Rachel and Ross, even Seinfeld has we could go in there. There's a whole bunch of examples of this in the 90s. But you're right, Jaemeel. Why, if Lita likes Rom, she can tell. She says in the episode that she knows Rom likes her.
Yeah.
Right. So she.
Why doesn't? But she's waiting for him to make the move.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. That's the whole will he do it? Thing. It's very obvious. It's spelled in front of you in big giant bold letters throughout this episode. What's going? What everyone's intentions are.
Right.
Rom likes Lita. Lita likes Rom. Picardo's trying to get in Lita's pants before that happens.
And he's such a control freak. This scene shows it. He literally rearranges her apartment without asking.
Yeah, he moves these things around earlier. I didn't get it, but it was on the table.
Hey, he's moving bowls. He's moving plants. He doesn't care. He's like, whatever. And all she's coming out with the towel on. She doesn't really have much. She shows she basically doesn't like this guy, but he doesn't care.
He's like, she comes out naked. He's like, thank you.
Yeah. It's like, oh no, not at all.
She takes the flowers. It's kind of he's kind of awkward about it here.
I often find too with Robert Picardo's portrayal that he reminds me a lot of Frasier.
Going for a Frasier in space vibe.
I feel like a bit of that's the character he plays with the EMH a bit. or Niles, or one of those guys.
Both of them
I'm surprised he didn't try to convince her to be an EMH too, so he can hologram her.
He probably did it. He probably copied her.
He probably when she was sleeping. Okay.
Hi, Sam.
Hey, Sam.
Sam.
Okay, so you get these awkward conversations around the dinner table. I don't know what they're eating. A lot of food in this episode.
This is a weird meal, I think. I don't really recognize.
Scallops and
I don't know. It's from the replicator, I'm sure.
potato, or is that like a bun?
It looks like Middle Eastern food, like maybe like.
Let's just call it Hasperat.
Looks
That's everything.
yeah.
It looks great. He's excited to have it.
He looks thrilled to be even sitting at the same table as these
New Zealand South Asian food.
His father starts telling this story about what is it like that
Landscape architecture.
No, he used to be a transport captain. He's like, no, you weren't.
Class steward.
You were third class. He's like, right, you are. And like
Well,
I think that's part. Like, I don't think Bashir is as angry as everybody thinks about being enhanced and at his father for that. I think he's angry at his father because his father's a fucking liar. Like, he just exaggerates all the time, and Bashir's just over it. He's like.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not playing along in your game. He's like, you're talking to me here, like I know, like, what are you doing? And he's like, okay. But he always has to remind him. He's like, stop acting, stop being a phony. Basically, right?
Yeah.
You always had good prospects on the horizon. They were just over the horizon. That's the thing with he's a disappointment to as a father. That's how he looks at him.
But if everything in the Federation is taken care of, why do you care if you have prospects on the horizon?
And then
just do what you want.
Right, and that's why this episode eventually comes down to the fact that he enhanced him at 6 years old and never really gave him a chance to become Jules Bashir instead of Julian Bashir.
He was Jules. That's the thing. He was Jules, and then he chose the name Julian.
I was 15.
When he was 15. He changed at that point.
He could have been like a world-class a galaxy, colorer, with his mental skills that he was fostering from the age
in
of
first
6.
grade, when the other children were learning how to read and write and use the computer, I was still trying to tell a dog from a cat, a tree from a house.
That doesn't mean maybe you're right, Jaemeel. Maybe he would have been the next, Sidney Pollock or Picasso. That's the thing. Like, that's what he's mad at him for, is that you basically changed my entire identity without my permission. At 6 years old, to do it to a kid too. Like, it's not even a baby.
The word you're looking for is unnatural,
meaning not from nature. Right.
Freak or monster.
I love the way
be acceptable.
I love the way he says monster. Monster. Yeah.
Freak or monster would also be acceptable.
It's so great. It's so Shakespearean. Okay, so then we get this scene here with Rob and Lita. Should I stay? Do I have a reason to stay? If I had a reason to stay, I'd stay. We got all this. It's
I don't know.
Like,
It's painful.
It's painful, even to watch Rob. Like, he looks like a little puppy dog. He's like, oh,
I don't know.
It's funny. I get why it's in the episode. I do like it, but it is hard to watch a little bit.
I don't know.
You've seen it too. You've been through high school drama where it's like,
Right.
dude, seriously? Just talk to her. Stop it. Stop talking to me. You
Right.
like her. Or vice versa, where the girl is like, oh man, I really like. It's like, I swear to God, I'm tired of hearing you talk about this dude. Just literally go and talk to him. Like, do something.
Thanks, Rom. You've been a big help.
Yes, more passive aggressive comments.
Right. Lita doesn't come off the best, that's for sure. Sometimes it's just like, if you want to just do it, like, you're right. Okay. Then we get to see with Julian's parents walking in on the LMH, and they have no idea it's not their son. It just goes to show maybe they aren't as good as parents as they think they are.
You can't tell it all.
He doesn't even respond. He just nods, looks at them. She even kisses him on the cheek. No clue it's not him.
Yeah.
This is weird. Isn't this weird? Shouldn't they should know better?
They're used to him having no zest.
Too much zest.
Yeah, they programmed him with no zest. Julian had to learn the zest along the way. Okay. It's an uncomfortable scene to watch, especially once O'Brien and Zimmerman walk out here. You're kind of like, uh-oh, that's not good. And then it immediately cuts to O'Brien talking to Julian. Going, sorry, man. Sorry. This is not good. I know this is not good. It's happened. Now all we could do is do something about it. And he goes to detail exactly what's going to occur. Zimmerman's going to file a report. And then, but she's like, I know. And he's like, and then he lays it all out. He's like, yeah, there's going to be a formal investigation at Starfleet Medical. And there's going to be all this stuff.
Awesome if O'Brien was like, do you think you're suffering right now? Stop being a fucking child.
I was in a mental prison for 20 years.
I hung out with Echep or whatever his name was.
Yeah, we had to take poops in front of each other in the sand for 20 years. It was
you're
rough.
Literally better than everybody. Oh, poor you.
Yeah.
Brian must suffer versus Bashir has everything given to him in life is quite a juxtaposition. It is kind of funny when you think about it.
Let's fight this. No, I'm gonna give up. It's like, damn you.
He's like, I see where this is going. He's like, God dang. At least I would fight. I might suffer for it, but
yeah.
And that's kind of like where like O'Brien is a little bit like his dad. Like he's willing to kind of do whatever it is. They have a scene in this episode where Bashir and O'Brien talk about the fact that they have the second kid and he needs to spend time with Molly and color with her, and because he doesn't want her to feel like it's all about the baby now. Which I think Bashir kind of like hears that and goes, oh yeah, like I wish I had that as my father. And that's kind of, I think, what sets up the whole episode at the beginning. And so you get these great monologue here from Alexander Siddig, saying he was a great disappointment to his parents and, everything with, what happened with him. Dave played the clip earlier with the cat.
In first grade, when the other children were learning how to read and write and use the
It's a
computer,
long one.
I was still trying to tell a dog from a cat, a tree from a house.
It's so spread out too. Dog from a cat.
I love that pause there because it's like he forgot the name of the dog. like
he forgot how.
It's
how
like
dumb.
his enhancements were reversing.
Yeah. It's like he forgot how dumb he was, and then he thought back, and he was like, "I was
like,
dumb."
I could imagine. I'm so smart. I can imagine what it was like to be that dumb. Maybe that's what
Yeah. So that he kind of explains like how his dad did it. He obtained these school records. He went to a different planet, and then figured out a way to enroll him as nobody ever suspected. And he says there's no stigma attached to success. Like they just threw him in like second grade, and then he started smoking all the other kids, and just
they're like, be a doctor. He's like, I want to be a tennis player. They're like, no, doctor.
Yeah, he's like tennis, way too high profile. We need to put you as a doctor.
I'm a Starfleet officer
in Starfleet.
Yeah, and face the most amazing, crazy space things you will ever come across. And you can earn into a Q continuum, a Borg cube, a planet.
Just super low key.
Yeah, super low key. Yeah, no one will ever figure this out.
If you're a tennis star playing Wimbledon in the 24th century, not going to go good for you. They're going to know.
If you met a telepathic species that was like just going to know everything he knows too. Like,
right.
So
yeah,
they don't necessarily explain, but we can reason this. He purposely did not want to become valedictorian.
He did it on purpose.
Yeah.
Yes. I think because you know, at the end of the day, he also wanted to choose this assignment, you know, which was Deep Space Nine, to get away from not only his parents but the Earth and Starfleet, and kind of go out into the frontier and just be kind of like, you know, away from everything. He wanted to be away.
I think they do say that in a later episode that is the reason.
Okay. But if I'm O'Brien, I'm like, when we're in a fight going forward, you better not miss any target. You better hit that Klingon. You better hit that Jem'Hadar. I don't want to see no like, whoops, I missed a little bit to the left. You hit that sucker dead on. Don't let me get shot.
No.
You're not standing behind me anymore.
No, you are not. Okay, so then we move on to Rom is even more upset. He's drinking, and Quark is really just serving people in this episode. But he sticks the knife in here on Rob. He's like, you know, it's better off. You know, think about what is it?
Nog's mother.
Primadora. He's like, that didn't go so well. You know,
you get that whole story.
Quark really, you know, not nice here to his brother. What do you think about it?
Hooray for romance.
Yeah. And because at the end of the day, he needs Rom. He wants Rom, you know, to take over the bar when he wants to go on vacation or whatever.
No, Rom's an engineer now. He doesn't work for Quark anymore.
Yeah, right. But in Quark's mind, that's, you know,
he's always trying to woo him back.
He's wooing him back. You know, it's not good for him to end up with Lita.
So it gives him a holodeck program here. He's like, go have a romp.
Vulcan love slave, the revenge.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds fun. Okay. Okay, so then we go back to Bashir's parents, and they're trying to convince him that he's got to fight this, you know, get legal counsel. He's just got to get a new plan. Do you have that clip, Dave? Do you have that?
No, I didn't get that one.
Oh, he's like, that's what we do in this family. We find another plan.
Yeah, he gets quite upset.
Don't face responsibility.
He's like, you're gonna lose everything. He's like, you mean you're going to lose everything? You know, he really digs into him, actually. You know, and you can't fault him because like he's right, but at the same time, it's pretty. You know, it's a little bit. You know, he's been holding on to it for a while. You know, he's pissed. He's pissed at his father here. You know, but it wasn't right. Look at his face. He calls him, you used to be my father, now you're my architect. You know, that's a pretty jarring statement.
Bird.
He goes really for it here. He's not happy with his father. Yeah, he is. He's like, I'm sorry, mother, but I can't take it. Then she kind of like calms it all down.
So good.
His mother says, you don't know what it's like to watch him fall behind a little bit every day. And, you know, we had to genetically enhance you, or else we were going to have a dumb child, and we're not going to. We have nothing to be proud of.
Yeah, your dad can barely hold out a job as a third-class steward.
Yeah,
on a transport shuttle.
Not looking good.
Even though we're in the Federation and you don't really have to work, right? Or like your income is not dependent on your being able to survive. But we couldn't have a stupid son.
No, not going to happen on their watch.
Not going to happen. We have nothing else to be proud of. We're going to have something to be proud of. God damn it.
They wanted him to do research too. They didn't even want him to go into the frontier medicine.
Well, they said that this genetic enhancement is available for people who have defects,
birth defects.
Yeah, well,
severe.
His mental capacities at 6 years old, I think, is a defect.
Dog from a cat and tree from a house at 6. I think there's something very wrong here with this child.
I think that's the thing. Like, I agree. I think, you know, they don't. The thing is, you know, the judge says it later on the episode. It's like we're fixing all dumb 6-year-olds. What's going to happen is, you know, there's going to be a con come out of those dumb 6-year-olds. We can't be doing this willy nilly, you know.
Right. And
so that's kind of the reasoning. But at the same time, you're right. They should do it for people that have cognitive dysfunction. It would make sense, and you're not going to know that at birth, you know. So.
Right. What do you think about Cisco standing up for Bashir in this episode, Jeff?
Did he?
Did he? Yeah.
He negotiated a deal. He's like, I negotiated a plea deal while you were sleeping, Bashir. Your parents
Actually, I like the nice touch of him just touching Bashir as he walked by and whispering, "Take all the time you need." Like,
or at the end.
yeah,
with your parents. It's like I understand with my father. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, if my father did this to me, I mean, and he could have. He's, you know.
Guess what? You're gonna learn some stuff about my mother later on. I don't know.
If my mother wasn't a god.
Yeah, I don't even know who my mother was, you know, but we're gonna find out, you know, in season 7. But yeah, the judge, like, I feel like, yeah, if he had just gone to Cisco maybe even earlier than this, before his parents came over, I think, you know, they probably still could have made a deal or something, like, could have happened here. But I don't know, like, what? How does Cisco make this work? How does he convince the judge to
2 years for his dad, and he gets everything, and then he gets to keep Bashir in the service. Doesn't matter. Like, all is forgiven. He'll be an exception to the rule. They're basically giving Bashir a pass. This is a great deal.
They also stopped the LMH, right?
Yeah, well, they're not going to do that, but
Yeah.
that's whatever. Like, you know, I think the fact that Bashir would have, he lays it all out. I'll be kicked out of Starfleet or whatever. That's the rules, and the fact that he's getting a pass here based on basically nothing other than his dad's going to plead out on it.
Is it because of the war too, though?
I think it's because Cisco's an important person in Starfleet now, and I think they're kind of like, well, this one worked out, so
just don't go crazy and try to kill everyone, right?
Cisco has a lot of power, I think, from this position, Jeff.
Yeah, so I think that's what this scene shows, that he was able to basically hook up an admiral, the main judge of that would really end up reviewing this anyway, gets him on the horn, and basically, you know, says, okay, well, this isn't good, but you know what? You say you're vouching for Bashir. Okay, this dad's got to go to New Zealand and beat rocks to death for 2 years.
Well, remember Tom Paris was in like New Zealand at the beginning of Voyager, and that's where Janeway picks him up. So I think it's the same place. He's just doing some gardening. They're like,
we get a scene that says Tom Paris was here.
Yeah, Tom Paris wrote his like initials into a tree somewhere.
That would have been great. That would have been great if they had done that in the end credits. It's just him showing up there.
Sure,
that would be great.
I got one criticism about this judge.
Okay.
Cisco calls him a rear admiral, but he has like 4 pips, so that he's a full admiral.
What would a rear admiral wear?
Like 2 pips.
Oh, okay.
With a box around. I'm just saying. So that lost some points for me.
No, some points. Okay, well, that's fair. They got that wrong. That's not Cisco's fault. That's the writer's fault.
Well, he should have figured it out. I think the actors should know these ranks and should adjust their dialogue.
Cisco is the writers in this case.
Yeah.
And the costume department should be held more accountable. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but you're right. Overall, you know, Bashir gets off scot-free, and then, you know, we kind of learned to like watch all the episodes before this back and go, oh, was he hiding this the whole time? Was this something that they had kind of planned for him a while ago? Because
were they just screwing with Alexander Siddig, and they were just like, you know what? Guess what? You were a changeling for most of the season. Guess what? Now you're genetically enhanced, and you always were.
Yeah, I think you're
they
right.
Didn't do it 2 episodes. They do it back to back. You must have pissed them off.
Yeah, well, he was very mad about the fact that he was a changeling for all those episodes.
And then this is the next episode.
Yeah. So you're probably right. They probably did kind of screw with him a bit. Yeah. So we get to the end thing here with the wait and the biggest cock block in the history of television.
Oh,
okay, yeah, the wait. Because there's a long goodbye here, but yeah, this.
We could talk about the goodbye with his parents, I guess, but you know, it's just a lot of, you know.
He hugs his dad. They made it up.
They made it up. So he says,
and then he says he's going to visit him.
I'm going to prison.
He doesn't.
He probably never.
He probably doesn't. I bet you he doesn't.
You said it was the right thing to say, though. He was that, you know.
Yeah. He's like, they have visiting hours. He's like, yeah, that'd be nice. He's like, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, he's like, oh, well, you know, when I'm around Earth, which will never be.
Yeah.
There's a war about to occur.
And Cisco's like, hey, we could take the Defiant and just go there. You know, I do that every other weekend.
Yeah,
No,
I go see my dad. He's like, "Nah, I'm good." Yeah. New Zealand, so far away from Louisiana, I wouldn't want to bother.
Okay, and then we get the whole the wait.
Wait.
We heard you the first time.
It's such an awesome delivery.
We heard it the first time. It's, yeah, it's pretty great. And then so like yeah, Lita's she's willing to leave. Like this is the thing that
Lita's the type of girl that gets human trafficked quite easily. She just leaves with anybody.
Bajor in traffic.
Yeah,
I barely know you.
She's literally just willing to leave her home for because he makes a proposition to her earlier in the episode. Hey, I'm leaving to this place. So you ever want to come with me? She's like, I'll have to think about it. He's like, all right, well, offers on the table.
Yeah, and he's like, I thought you'd live with me. They've known each other 2 days.
Yeah.
Did she give her notice?
Man, she's back. She was just waiting. This was all to test Rom. When she go,
Yeah.
but she looked like she was going through it. She was going.
It did
Going
look.
to Jupiter Station.
She's not very well dressed to go to Jupiter Station. Like, I mean, she doesn't look like she has a lot of clothes. Like, it seems like she was gonna back out probably anyway.
Jupiter Station's in our solar system, so that's basically Earth.
It's just a defiant right away.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
We'll get you there.
But like,
They just use the Defiant to go pick up Lita.
Please.
all right, fine, Rom.
Captain
Yeah.
Cisco, can you do me a favor?
Yeah. He just cockblocks him. He's like,
Right
no.
in front, and he's like,
Right in front of him.
okay.
Yeah, but he adjusts to it very quickly.
Yeah, he
says-
says
He's all good. He's good with it too. He was like, whatever.
he sees another hot chick walk right by. He's like, okay, I'm gonna go chase that. Okay, see you later.
Yeah, I got the clip here too.
Excuse me, are you familiar with the ancient text known as the Kama Sutra?
That's really the
Right
Kama
to the
Sutra.
Kama Sutra.
Could that
That's
be
his
more?
opening line.
That's his pickup line, which is
Seems
yeah,
to
not
work.
not a good
We
one.
worked on
but-
Lita. I don't
Worked
know.
on-
We don't.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. He probably got punched in the face right when they turned the corner.
Poor
But,
Dabo.
Yeah.
Now she's with Rom instead of with Morn here. Yeah. And then the whole dart scene.
And then the whole dart scene where Julian is much better at these darts than he's been letting on. And
Yeah.
O'Brien's not okay with it. He's like that.
Been lying to him for 5 years.
Yeah. And
About his darts.
can you imagine playing all those games of darts and every game you've won was bullshit?
Yeah. I'd be so pissed.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even think it does it justice. Where he's just like, now you have to go back here. He's like, you've been doing this the whole time.
Especially because you know when O'Brien wins, he gloats.
Yeah.
Right?
And now, yeah, puts him back here. And he's happy about it. He's like,
He's like, I'll do it.
He's like, yeah, I'm still going to beat you. I'm very enhanced.
Yeah. He just keeps. They show him get bullseyes, but he really should have got 3 triple 20s. But it wasn't good for TV, I guess. But,
Yeah.
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 People would be like, oh, he didn't hit the bullseye, loser.
Yeah. The American audience wouldn't be as adept as the British audience.
he wasn't even trying that hard, I don't think.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, no. I think even when he stands back, he's just like, okay, I'll humor you. He probably could still hit everything. But you know what? That's part of their whole thing. And that's kind of the end of the episode here.
Yeah,
we
he said-
see more ships around the station at the end.
Yeah, it looks like there's a lot of going on. I think this is why Cisco has the sway he does.
Wartime.
Yeah, he's like, wars coming, and you are letting me keep my doctor. This is bullshit.
Yeah, you're not taking my doctor. I don't care if he's genetically enhanced. I need a genetically enhanced doctor. Screw off.
However,
Yeah. He's like,
If
are we
they're-
really going to quabble over this when the Dominion genetically enhances an entire army?
if
Yeah,
this,
come on.
if
I'm
this
Captain
happened,
Benjamin Sisko.
if this happened in the first season, would they have kept Bashir or just been
No.
like, that sucks, dude. See ya.
Probably not. It had to happen now. I feel like they were like, we can write this in now. This is the only time he would have this power.
Yeah. In season 2, it would have been like, okay, so Pulaski is joining the show.
Wow. Wow. She would be having the prune juice with Worf.
Yeah.
Sam says he's graduating high school tomorrow, Jeff.
Oh,
Congratulations, bro.
You've made it.
Congratulations.
All right.
You made it.
I hope your next endeavor, whether it be in the college, university, whether it's the working world or a trade school, you do what's best for you, and I wish you luck in your future endeavors. Good luck.
Trade school. That's how you make the money.
Big Brother 24 starting in 2 weeks, Jeff.
Or you just go on Big Brother 24 and you make the money that way.
Socially.
Yep.
Just with your brain.
He's
Okay.
asking about Unexpected the Tick. I don't know what that is, though.
On TLC. Unexpected. I don't want. Well, my wife to be watches a lot of TLC, but I don't remember Unexpected.
Yeah. It's been a pretty busy time for a lot of us here.
Yes. Okay, let's move over to some fun facts here on this episode. I think that would be fun.
He's saying he's going to be on. He's going on Big Brother Canada 11. He's auditioning.
Well, you might see one of us there too. So who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry, Sam. We'll figure something out.
Sam's a newfie. He's got that
Beast Coast collection.
That's a big thing. They like the new son, the old BB can. Okay, moving over to fun facts. This episode is the first to provide any details whatsoever about Nog's mother, Prinadora. Indeed, it is the only episode to do so. She would be mentioned again in Ferengi love songs, but no new information would be presented. That is something. You have Rom, who has a former relationship with a woman that is Nog's mother, who are both main characters on this show, really. I mean, they're in a lot of episodes. And Nog never brings up his mother either, which is odd.
Well, we know why. She wasn't that good.
Well, according to Cork. Okay. The title is a parody on the expression Dr. Livingstone, I presume, which the reporter Henry Morgan Stanley used when he found the lost physician David Livingstone in the town of Ujiji on the shores of Lake Tanganyika on November 10th, 1871. Coincidentally, this episode was directed
by David Livingston. But not the same guy.
Well, David Livingstone was the lost physician, but
it's very similar.
Yes. Okay, this episode is the last time that we see the holo communicator being used until Shinzon or on the USS Enterprise E's versions of it in Star Trek Nemesis. So we don't see it till then.
Well, I don't know. They gave up on the holo communicator. I think it was sort of a mistake. I think they could have gone on more than 2 episodes.
I don't like. Well, yeah, because they didn't they do it with Javert?
Yeah. They only did it in 2 episodes, and then they kind of chickened out with it. They didn't really keep going with it.
It sucked. It sucked.
It's a bit Star Wars too. It's
well, it's just a guy standing under a blue light, and so but he can't move around the room. So they kind of like did the better holo communicators in like Discovery, even where they would show them kind of walking around the room.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it worked for the Javert episode really well. This episode, I was like, those are just blue lights,
It works better on the Defiant Bridge than it does. In sort of that office there, I think.
I'm like, he's in the room. What are we doing? Okay. When Admiral Bennett is explaining his offer to Julian's father, he refers to Khan Singh and the eugenics wars, both featured heavily in the Star Trek Space Seed episode from 1967 and the Wrath of Khan in 1982. This is the second time Khan is mentioned in an episode of Star Trek in which he doesn't appear. The first was a Next Gen episode called A Matter of Time, in which he is mentioned by Picard.
And he's also mentioned in Picard, right? Season 2.
Yeah, I think by the guy Brent Spiner played,
one of the Soongs. One of the Dr. Soongs.
Yep. All right. Dr. Louis Zimmerman was named for Herman Zimmerman, a production designer for Next Gen, DS9, and the 4 TNG movies.
So a lot of the aesthetics we love about that era come from Herman Zimmerman.
Yes, this is the first appearance of Dr. Louis Zimmerman, the creator of the MH, as a real person on any Star Trek series, having previously appeared only as a hologram on the Voyager episodes Projections and The Swarm. He appeared as a real person again here in Voyager Lifeline. So in Projections and The Swarm, he's still just a hologram, but we don't see the real guy
until this time. Yeah, I remember being really excited when they finally did this, and we met the real Zimmerman.
Yeah,
but then the next time you'll see him in Voyager, he's like so much older. He doesn't look like the Doctor anymore, right? Like, He feels
They cha-
different than the hologram doctor.
Gotcha. Shortly before this episode, Robert Picardo also played the Enterprise E's emergency medical hologram in the movie First Contact. According to Dr. Crusher in the movie, she was aware the ship always had an EMH, but swore she would never use it. Ironically, she did so here in order to use them as a doorstop. In the EMH's words, not as a medical professional. Since the E incarnation of the Enterprise was fairly new, the D having only recently been destroyed, Crusher's statement implies that the Enterprise D also had an EMH. However, we learned in 2 later Star Trek Voyager episodes that all the EMH Mark I models had been retired and sent to work in the mines.
Wow.
Yeah, it was wasn't a good fate for those EMHs.
No, they didn't have a good time. No, they went to break rocks. Okay. The footage of starships docked at D9 in the final shot of this episode is recycled from The Way of the Warrior. The footage is reused again in Sacrifice of Angels.
Ooh, there you go.
Yep. According to Chase Masterson, no exit line was written for Robert Picardo's character, Dr. Zimmerman, so he was allowed to improvise. On the first take, he said to the woman, "Are you familiar with my work on Voyager?" which got a big laugh from the entire crew, but couldn't be used for obvious reasons. So the Kama Sutra reference was used instead.
They're like, say Kama Sutra instead. It's funny. It was like they probably never thought they'd use it. They must have done a few.
Yeah, they probably did a few, and I don't know, it still worked, but yeah, that would have been funnier. Lita and Rom finally get together in this episode. They first became friends in bar association, and Lita confessed her feelings for Rom in "Let He Who Is Without Sin."
In the Rise episode, so like she's had feelings for, she's like been into him, but she has not approached him in all this time. She's just been torturing him. Like, I don't get this relationship. I don't understand what she was like. No, you have to ask me out, Rom. If you don't ask me out, not gonna happen. I'm not gonna like come up to you and say, "Hey, let's hang out."
Couldn't you do like the Miss Piggy and force him? You're gonna ask me out, you know?
Yeah, I think you could. We learned that Bashir was genetically modified as a child, and that is illegal in this universe. And finally, after Dr. Zimmerman learns of Dr. Bashir's enhancements, he files a report that Bashir is unsuitable as a model for the EMH Mark II and will begin looking elsewhere. In the following year, in the Voyager episode Message in a Bottle, it turns out he found
Andy Dick.
possible protable replacement in Andy Dick. Yeah.
Sorry,
Andy Dick
spoiled
was
that.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was at least the EMH Mark II. We don't know if he was the LMH.
No, but that is kind of funny.
What a step down.
That is it for fun facts.
All right, let's move over to ratings. Where is it? Yeah, bring it up. Ratings. Okay, Jeff, what do you give Dr. Bashir? I presume.
I give it a 9.7.
Wow. Dave already put it. Wow, he already locked in.
I'm a 9.8. Jaemeel, what did you give
Wow,
tonight?
I'm giving it an 8.7.
8.7 from Jaemeel. And Kevin?
9.
Like, it's a
Score.
great episode, but it's not like it's not a 9.
It's a 9.3 is the average. You're the low rating tonight, 8.7. You're almost 9.
It has a 7.8 on IMDb too. It's not a highly rated IMDb episode.
Which I feel is, I think it's a high 8 at the very least. It should not be that low.
It's got an average of an 8.6 combined when you look at those two ratings together. It's got a Ronald D. Moore. Ronald D. Moore's got some of the highest ratings. I bet if we just filtered for him, we would see some crazy results. All the top numbers in the ratings. So anyway, Jeff, the next episode's called A Simple Investigation.
Ooh.
Let me guess, it's an Odo episode.
I would assume so. He's barely in this episode.
Yes, Odo becomes romantically attached to a woman working with the Orion Syndicate.
Oh yes.
Yeah. It's not a great episode. I feel like it's you're like after like some great episodes. This is maybe
kind of a throwaway, right?
Odo's got a girlfriend on a case.
Is this the episode where Bashir O'Brien has an eye patch and Bashir? Oh, why those pictures are coming up on this episode?
I think it might be. Yeah.
Where like he's like a hologram bad guy or whatever, and then like isn't that the same storyline from like who is Dax?
Who's Dax?
Oh shit!
No, it's not the. I don't think it's the James Bond episode. We already did it.
I don't know. The
Who
pictures.
is that?
I think it starts in the holodeck though,
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so
and they're trying to like get Odo to join them.
okay.
Yeah, he's not into it. They're like they wanted. I can't remember who they want him to play, but it's kind of not going to work.
Okay, yeah. So that's what we have next week, which is a lot of Odo. So tune in for that. Okay. What else we got? You got coming up here, Dave? On
Jeff, tomorrow on
Thursday?
Live Long and Podcast, we're going to be covering the next episode of Star Trek Strange New World, episode 8 of season 1. It's called The Elysian Kingdom. Looks like Dr. Mbenga is going to get a heavy feature in it. Excited to cover that with Kevin and Jody and Davin, and we hope Adam. We'll see if he's able to make it. And yeah, it's been a great season so far. The ratings are in the 8s and 9s so far, Jeff. This show.
Rightfully so. I'm a couple episodes into the series, and I am digging it.
Well, worth it. Check out our review tomorrow of The Elysian Kingdom. Also, every Monday night, Star Trek Enterprise. We're going through the episodes. Sometimes we love it, sometimes we hate it, but we're going to talk about one by one. And it's going strong every Monday night with Jody and Adam and Kevin and I, and sometimes Davin when he can make it too. And then Star Trek Radio Theater, guess what? Our last recording of Darmok, so finally the edited version will be going up soon. I just been doing the final mix is going together right now, and that will be posted soon. I'm looking forward to getting that posted and getting to that.
Okay.
Sort of in the rearview mirror too.
Did you mention Star Trek Enterprise?
Star Trek. I did. I plugged that. Yep.
Okay.
And then check out Super Mario Brothers podcasting. Maybe looking at doing Big Brother 24 starting up this summer.
2 weeks.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Do you know what I've been watching, guys? Is Australian Big Brother, and it is a much superior game to the Canadian and American versions. It is the Big Brother is actually a character. There's a guy, and he talks to the house guests. I actually the way they do nominations changes every week. That you can win back-to-back head of household, but that doesn't mean you're safe. No, it does mean you're safe, but it doesn't mean you have power of nominations.
Have you ever watched any non-Canadian or US Big Brother before?
No.
Okay. Big Brother is always a character in like UK and Australia.
It's awesome.
The only thing that's changed in terms of like the way the show is built, it's no longer a popularity contest. It's actually like the people are competing. So this season has been a little bit jarring for some folks because it isn't just hey, be the nicest person that people like on the show and people will vote for you to win. It's actually pretty good. And I assume that you like a lot of the challenges and things that they throw this way. Like Big Brother actually punishes people and punishes the guests and has challenges for them. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. I think it's way better format. And if they did the Australian version format on the US or Canada, I think it would be a lot more fun. I think it's a mistake having the house guests narrate everything in the house. I think that's what's really nice about the Australian version.
Well, with all that in mind, check out our coverage of the American Big Brother 24 starting up in 2 weeks' time. As well as other podcasts on Super Mario Brothers podcasting and Trivial Debates coming to you later this month. As soon as I get this.
Ozark?
Oh, are we, Jeff, are we ever going to talk about Ozark?
Ozark, no, maybe if you. I mean, I'll talk about it, but it's. I will not. I do not have kind things to say about the end of that show.
So that's the perfect reason for you all to talk about it. Then
it was good at the beginning, but
save it for the podcast. That's just a tease, folks.
I'll save it.
They're going to do the podcast. Dave's going to make it happen.
Okay.
Ozarks.
And then we have Westworld coming up soon.
Westworld, yeah, we're still holding our breath about that one. I saw a trailer, I was confused.
That's Westworld.
That's Westworld.
Yeah, of course, it's Westworld. Yeah,
it's
so
really
we got
gone
another
downhill.
podcast. Yeah, check out also Alex and Michael Chan doing the Hellbound podcast. Eamon Mater under Sam Jerka doing the Let's Talk About Fighting Games. Also check out Davin Skellhorn, who got tired tonight. And he couldn't make it, so he had a rough day out there in the landscaping. He's got Locutors of Trek, and he's got X-Men the Animated Series Rewatch X-rated.
He's got it all.
X-rated. Yes.
Da-na-na-na-na.
Yep.
Da-da-da-da-da.
Yep.
Da-da. Anyway, so I think Jeff, is that all
Okay.
she wrote on?
That's all she wrote. Join us next week on the same time, on the same day, Wednesdays. We do D6 9 at 9ish now for season 5, episode 16. Dr. Bashir, I presume I have been Jeff. See you next week.
Zesty.
Zesty.
Bye.
Bye.